Did the Semper gratus 5K this morning. Finished first overall. I think my time was like 18:27, which was like 30 seconds slower than last year on pretty crappy conditions. Last year was icy. This year it was bone dry. I just don't think I pushed this year. Once I got the lead, I sort of hung back and wasn't trying to get it done real quick. I think that's what the main reason why I was slower, but either way, it's like the third time I've done the race. I won all three. I really enjoy it. The people there really make you feel welcome. It's just a nice atmosphere. Again, it's for a good cause. Got some Irish cookies afterwards. This is the show you real quick. Gift certificate thing that we got, or whatever certificate thing that we got for winning this year. It's always cool. It's a different picture every year. So something unique for races. I think I got a $50 gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods as well, and a medal. But again, I enjoy the race. It's only like an hour drive to Leechburg from my house, which seems far and out of the way because there's no real reason for me to ever go to Leechburg except for this race. So I'm always not too familiar with it, but it's not a bad drive at all. That hour goes by pretty quick. So it was kind of cold this morning, low 30s, but again, roads were dry, course was dry, so you didn't have to worry about any of that junk. For this race, there's always plenty of volunteers and people pointing in the right direction. Like every intersection, they have a fireman, a cop, EMS, regular volunteers, like you name it. There's always somebody at an intersection, like blocking traffic and pointing in the right way. There's also, I think we were following orange direction arrows for the 5K, so it's very easy to follow. There's also a lead vehicle. There was, I don't know if it was a cop or a fire police vehicle that was leading us today, so I had no issues following the course whatsoever, even though I did have a rough idea of where I was going for the last 2 years. Like the flagging was on point because I was looking as I was still following the vehicle just to see how it was today. It was on point. So if you want to do the race, you don't have to worry about getting lost or turned in the wrong direction, because there's, again, plenty of people pointing in the right direction. Enough volunteers. 1 mile walk, I believe, follows pink after a half mile. That's where I get confused, because I can't remember if I was following pink or orange. So if I say the wrong one, my bad. But either way, I didn't get lost. So it's a hilly course to start. We'll say like the first mile. It's probably a little bit shy of a mile is where all the hills are. So you got to remember that starting out, because you run maybe 50, 60 yards and then you go up the first hill. So if you're sprinting out the gate, you're going to burn up real quick, because you're going to go up that hill, and then your legs are going to be in that sprint mode, and you're just going to burn yourself out. There's a little bit of a downhill, and then you go right back up. So there's really, I want to say, 3 good hills to start the race. So prepare yourself. I did video the course last year in snowy conditions, so it might not be as easy to follow as it would be on dry, but whatever. So if you want to see the course and what I mean by the hills to start, you can watch the video and you'll be able to tell and see all some of the turns. Again, it's not a bad course. It's a little bit hilly, but it's nice because it breaks it up compared to your cookie cutter other races in the area. I I forget how much elevation there is in the race, but that first mile, once you get it done, you're pretty much running downhill the rest of the way, except for about mile 2. There's one last little incline that I forgot when I was running, and I was running a little bit, probably too hard at the time, so it sort of snuck up on me and caught me a little bit, but I had such a lead, it wasn't a big issue. So there's only I want to say a handful today that were actually pushing or trying or whatever. So when I took off, I was out front, and then I kept looking back on each little turn to start the race, first half of the race. And I could see my gap growing and growing each turn. At first I wasn't sure what was going to happen or who really was going to give me any competition, because I really don't know a lot of the people down there. I mean, I see the faces, but I don't know them and their ability, so I can't really judge what I'm going to run into. So it's always a guessing game, but I do like the race, so I always like to go back when I can. So I got up the first hill, I start feeling my legs already burning a little bit, and I was like, oh crap, did I go too hard? But I recovered right away on that little downhill that we have before we go back up another one. And I did that for that first couple to save myself. And since I didn't have nobody riding my ass, I was playing it safe and not turning and burning, so I didn't blow up. Plus, I'm not really in race mode per se. Like, I feel a little bit heavier than I normally do, and I haven't really been sleeping or eating. I didn't really get my pre-race routine in, so I was off a little bit this morning, but I was wide awake because this is like a 10 a.m. start, so I got to sleep in a little bit. If I would have went somewhere else, I would have had to get up earlier, so I got like 6 hours last night. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so after we crested, we start to turn and make the loop around town, or the neighborhoods, whatever you want to call them. There was a couple cars on course that snuck on. Must have been people pulling out of driveways, and the one guy looked confused. Wasn't really sure like what he was doing, but everything turned out right. And then I just kept growing my lead. Didn't really have anybody challenging me, but again, the way my legs were feeling early on, and even my breathing, my throat was a little bit, I want to say red. It wasn't burning, but you could tell it wasn't warmed up enough, so when I started, I didn't warm up enough, so breathing in that cold air got farther into my lungs, or my throat, than it normally would. So that was a little bit detrimental early on. And I recovered, and it finally warmed up, and then air was flying after that. I really didn't have no issues per se. I did have to start the feeling of having to poop about 1.4, 1.5 miles in, and I was like, oh geez, here we go with this stuff. But somehow I mentally blocked it out, and it didn't faze me too much, only for like a minute or so, thankfully. I'm trying to think what else to say. That's really about it. I just enjoyed watching the finish line. I stayed to the finish line probably the last handful of people were coming in. Got my ate one of the Irish cookies, and drank some whatever they had. Oh, it was this hit stuff. Drank one of them, and I was just watching people and taking videos of people coming in, like sprinting in. I wanted to capture that a little bit. There's a bunch of little kids like dead sprinting coming into the race, so that was fun to see. yeah, if you get a chance, go down, watch the video beforehand so you know what to expect, and then go to the race, I guess, is what I want to say. It's a cool atmosphere afterwards. There's a Leechburg, I forget what it is. It's like a fire, I don't know if it's not really a fire hall, but it's like a fireman's community building is my understanding of the place. It could be a fire hall, but it just looks like a hall for the firemen to host events. So if somebody wants to check on that, let me know. But I think it's just a hall, not the actual station. But you can go inside. It's opened up pretty good because they have a basket party afterwards. And what else? Oh, there was people dressed up. There's female Thor, Captain America. There's a couple princesses. I can't remember the Disney princess names, so I don't want to screw them up. There's some people in costumes. I got pictures with them. It's nice to see people dressing up, just supporting the race coming out. Everybody seemed happy. Again, it's a good atmosphere, so nobody's grumpy or upset. All I saw was smiling faces, nobody crying or pouty. Yeah, but other than that, I guess that's it. I'm trying to ramble on a little bit, make it longer, but really not much to say that I haven't said before. I'm just happy I went and I had a good time. And hoping to go back next year, I guess.